You may start now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GSMA DAXF's first virtual seminar for 2024. I really thank you for joining this year's first DAXF virtual seminar. And this seminar will be on AI-driven network management and optimization. First of all, let us do some greetings. And I'll first invite Head of APAC, Julian Gorman, just to say a few words to welcome you. Julian, over to you.
Thanks, John. I trust you can hear me all right. Ladies and gentlemen, a good afternoon. What? Can you hear me? Yeah. Everything's good? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar. As John has just announced, on behalf of GSMA, we're delighted to have you join us today. I think the history of mobile industry is many examples that can be referred to as waves of new technology that have materially changed the status quo, whether it was the iPhone or network generations like the 4G or even services like TikTok now. But none have really captured such universal attention and awareness as the AI wave that really got initiated, 18 months ago, so by the launch of ChatGPT. And of course, mobile operators have been dealing with AI in their networks since well before ChatGPT's launch, but its high public profile and awareness across our digital society and governments, importantly, is not only impacting network performance and traffic characteristics, but reshaping the vision for mobile technology as the engine for digital transformation, and also adjusting expectations of the various different stakeholders in our ecosystem. And in this area of digital transformation, mobile operators are navigating the dual challenges of that escalating data traffic that comes with AI and other services driven by AI, but also those evolving user expectations. And AI has emerged as a pivotal solution for enhancing network management and optimization and enabling mobile operators to provide superior connectivity and customer service while maintaining a competitive edge, and in almost actually being driven to have to compete as people adopt AI. And need to actually compete. You can't afford to not be part of it. I think I saw something this morning that says within 24 months, every business process in the world will be rewritten by AI or something like that. But of course, it's a complex landscape, providing challenges and opportunities for mobile operators who across the region are at different maturities of 5G rollout. They're all finding their way with CapEx commitments and operational costs with pressures to increase efficiencies. And meanwhile, like every other corporate on the planet, we're all trying to define our own corporate strategies for AI. But for today, we'll focus on how AI is revolutionizing key areas in the network. And John Kim has crafted an agenda of experts who will take us on a journey of developments and insights, which I'm sure you'll find interesting and entertaining. I'd like to thank all of our speakers for their time and being part of this, and encourage you as the audience to participate by adding questions and discussions to the question answer box, and also participate in the chat on the screen, because I think this is going to be a very good topic for discussion. So thank you again for joining us today. This is the first of a series of webinars and events that Kim has planned, and I look forward to taking this journey together as we help advance the sustainability and inclusiveness of digital nations with AI. So back to you, John.
Great. Thanks, Julian. Great. Okay. Well, first of all, just to let you know, okay, for those that are not familiar with me, my name is John David Kim, and I head up the GSMA APAC's Digital Transformation Acceleration Forum. And so I am responsible for the AXF activities and events in relation to AI-focused seminars and virtual seminars. So, as most of you may already know, the DX Acceleration Forum will be focusing around the topic of AI, facilitating and accelerating DX in 2024. Now, this virtual seminar will be the first of 4 virtual seminars to be held alongside 2 physical ones this year, with each of them set along stages of the wider AI value chain. The 2 physical events will be held in the 4th quarter of this year, and these will be at Mobile 360 APAC Seoul in October, and the Digital Transformation Leaders CXO Summit in November, with the venue to be decided in the next few months. So we really look forward to your attendance and participation in these two seminars and events. Now, following today's seminar on managing and optimizing existing networks driven by AI, the next seminar will be on the integration of AI into next generation networks, which will be held on Thursday, the 4th of July. I understand today, for this seminar, I understand that today is a public holiday in Malaysia, and in Indonesia and Singapore. So, my apologies for that, but I hope we still can have some of you from those regions still join us for this virtual seminar. Now, the more information about the second seminar, about the integration of AI into NGN, will be shared along with the agenda in due course. Now, today I have invited leading organizations from mobile digital ecosystem to share their views and experiences related to using AI for network management and optimization, and how they are tackling this challenge. The first presentation will be by my colleague, Peter Jarich, who's the head of GSMA Intelligence, and he'll set the background scene for this seminar. Second presentation will be by Min Soo Na, who's a director and head of 6G development team at SKT, and he'll share SK Telecom's approach and experience as a leading MNO on this topic. The third presentation will be by Christopher Price, Director of Advanced Technology at Ericsson, and he'll be sharing a major vendor's perspective and experience on this topic. And the last presentation will be delivered by Carlos Oliveira Mascura, who's a partner and head of Global Tech Center at Kearney, who will also share an industry consultant's perspective on this topic. Following these presentations, the speakers will join a short 30-minute panel discussion session, which will provide the opportunity to really expand slightly more on their presentations. To add a little more spice to the discussion, this panel will be joined by Thomas Sennhausen, CTO and business lead for APJ at Intel Corporation, to share the semiconductor industry's perspective as the role of semiconductors in enabling AI functionalities is really pivotal to the development and the growth of this industry. Time-wise, this seminar will be quite tight, so we will not be taking any questions. However, for any questions you may have, please use that chat function in Zoom to ask the question alongside your and place your email addresses there as well, please, okay, just in case. Now, we will do our best to come back to you after the seminar with answers to your questions. For the first presentation, to set the scene for this seminar, I invite Peter Jarich to take the screen. So Peter is the head of GSMA Intelligence at GSMA. Peter, screen's yours.
Great, thank you, John, and thanks to everyone. Let me just go put my screen in a view that hopefully everyone can see well. And thank you all thanks for having me here. I think this is it's an important topic, and I think Julian hinted at this, but AI is not new for telco, and for my team looking at what's been going on within the broader telco space and broader communications space, we've seen that. But clearly, the focus on Gen AI, all of the content around Gen AI has sort of brought this into focus. And I think that makes it particularly important to focus a bit on things like beyond Gen AI. So in this case, getting a chance to talk a bit about network management, optimization, and I really appreciate the chance to be here and talk to you all today. For those of you who don't know, GSMA Intelligence, if you don't know who we are, we're the research and consulting arm of the GSMA. So, the shorthand is my team is a team of smart, engaged, curious analysts. Really, the goal, the objective is to help the ecosystem really execute on the opportunities in front of it, right? So you see a bunch of data here, the number of companies that rely on our insights, the number of data points that we have, particularly within all the data we have around operators and networks, various networks that we track. If you're a customer, great, thank you very much. If you're not, please get in touch. We really love sharing our insights, sharing our data, and helping the ecosystem, really, as I mentioned, execute on the opportunities in front of it, including AI. So,
excuse me, Peter.
Yes.
Apologies for interrupting you, but I think
you've
got the presenter's mode
Oh, that is not cool.
Okay.
That is not cool. Let's see how I change that. Doesn't seem to want to change that. I know how to change that. Easiest way to do that is let's try and stop sharing and start this again. That was not very good looking. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
It's hard.
Right.
Let me try this. That wasn't anything anyone wanted to see. Let's try this. And then let's see if it does the same thing. Come on. Zoom is not helping me here. Zoom is not my friend. Let me stop sharing. What if it doesn't? We'll make do with this.
Yeah, yeah.
If it doesn't, come on.
Okay, works. Looking good.
Zoom finally decided to be my friend. So moving on. Let's see. I said Zoom. I may have said that way too quickly. And got it. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Hey, finally, thank you, Zoom. So I think I'm going to start with a bit of the good news, and this is what we're seeing from the research that we do. Right, when we go and we talk to operators, on a regular basis, and this is from some work that we did towards the end of last year, where we go out to operators from around the world, 100 operators around the world, all sizes, all shapes, distribution across the regions. And that's particularly important for us, I think, as the research and consulting arm in the GSMA, trying to get out to a representative sample of really what the market looks like, not just looking at a small handful. And what do we see? Right, what we see is that AI and automation top strategic priorities. Right, you look at this of what they think is extremely versus very important, and you see open networking technologies, including Open RAN, not too surprising, at the top of the list. 5G advanced, also not too surprising given where it is, but automation of business and network functions, right? The optimization, the discussion that we're here to talk about today, near the top, right in second place, close behind open networking. So operators get it, right? They understand this. They see this as something that they need to execute on. And I think, again, it's going back to some of the conversation and some of the discussion that Julian kicked off. Although there's a big focus on AI and Gen AI in particular, and Gen AI for a lot of focuses around what you can do with customer care, what you can do with chatbots, service creation, even with Gen AI. What do we see? Right, we see with Gen AI, the number one use case for operators looks to be focused on network opportunities, right? So troubleshooting, predictive maintenance, even if you're looking at threat detection and mitigation, they get it, right? Regular old AI, Gen AI, network optimization, network management, they really see that being the number one focus. Now, I think there are some bad news things that we need to call out here. And so when we go and we look at our research and we talk to operators, we try and get a view of how do different technologies sit compared to one another, particularly in terms of where they are at deployment. Because it's great for an operator to say, hey, I'm interested in this technology. I know this technology is important. But where the rubber hits the road is how are they actually beginning to deploy those and what progress are they making? And so, good news is when we go and we ask them about things like network API exposure, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the Open Gateway initiative from the GSMA, right? How do you actually unlock network capabilities thanks to the use of open APIs? Yeah, we see there's a huge interest, and actually a lot of operators have already begun doing that. Not necessarily with Open Gateway, perhaps with some other APIs, but they're building that. They're building that base, right? What do we see though with generative AI? Yeah, we see commercial, right? Commercial deployment at scale, very, very limited, right? Very few operators have actually begun that, even at an initial standpoint. Now, to be fair, you see more operators testing Gen AI than any other technology. So it's heavily in a testing phase. Now, guessing that this probably resonates with most of us, because I think a lot of organizations, it is still new. We're all still playing catch up, but deployment is still very, very limited. So the question though is why now, right? Why is this something that we need to be focused on now? Why do we need to be thinking about AI for network optimization, for network management? And I think a very, very simple answer is that we know networks and services are going to get more and more complex. This is what we all know, right? This is why I call it out as a known known. This is not one of those things of, oh no, something is coming and we don't know what it is and we need to prepare for it. And AI will help us for something we don't know is going to occur, but get ready for it. We know that this is happening, right? You can look at the services that you're all offering, or the services, if you're not an operator, that you see from your operators. If you are an operator, you know what your networks look like. You know that networks are getting more and more complex. If we're talking about multiple generations, right? So you've got to manage your 2G and 3G potentially alongside 4G and 5G, and you've got 5G advanced coming. You've got to prepare for new technologies. Again, we saw how important Open RAN is and open networking technologies are to many companies. We know that that brings in multiple vendors. And so what do you see? You see this reflected when we go out and we ask operators to rank what they think are the drivers of automation and as a follow-on, AI across their organization. Yeah, it's increasing service complexity, increasing network complexity, of course, increasing customer demands, right? We understand serving up those customer demands is key for driving revenues, keeping for customers happy, key for keeping churn down, not too surprising. At the same time, and this is something that we probably know a little bit less about, is that we've got content consumption and the diversity of content that's growing, but also changing, right? And so if you can look at some of the data, and this comes from, I think probably many of us are familiar with the work that Sandvine does, but if you look at the work that Sandvine does, looking at the different app categories and apps, right? We see a lot of video, not too surprising again, but this is the view today. And we know that it's increasing. You all can look at your networks. You've seen that increasing amount of data. You've got to manage that. You've got to deal with that. AI is obviously particularly important, but more importantly is that we know these are going to change. Think about what these numbers looked like 4, 5, 6 years ago. It was video, but different types of video. Maybe it wasn't social. Maybe it was different suppliers. Maybe there were different policies you applied to it. More, and this goes back to the things that we don't know, right? We understand that this is going to change. We've got to be thinking about this, even things like AI generated content will drive tons of new volume. To prepare for it, we have to be ready to have AI for helping us to manage and optimize those networks, because we don't know what this is going to do, but we've got to be prepared for it. And then, and I called this out right a bit before in terms of how we're looking at it, new architectures, new infrastructure diversity, it's on a growth curve, right? If we go and we look to see what is standalone, right? How do we see operators looking at standalone? You see something similar for 5G advanced. What do they think standalone, which is now beginning to gain traction across networks, will be a trigger for? Yeah, it's things like API exposure, it's things like open networking, right? New ways of running your networks, new services, things that, again, will introduce complexity that need to be solved for. Interestingly, you don't see necessarily generative AI being triggered by SA, but again, I think that's because it's still in a trial phase for a lot of folks. And I think before I head to a conclusion here, I'd say the last piece here that we begin to think about really is this question of user requirements evolving. Right. I called this out before when I looked at sort of what we saw operators talking about in terms of their drivers, right? And they see that more demanding services, more demanding users, right? But let's take about this more broadly. And I'm not saying that we're looking at a 6G future anytime soon. It's still only 2024. We know we still have some time. But as we look at this move from 5G to 6G, we all remember the early 5G messaging. Right? What are the 5G use cases, the 3 core 5G use cases? As we go towards 6G, we're going to see an extension about that. But it's important to remember, right? The whole concept, the foundation of 5G was the idea that we would have one technology that could meet very demanding new services, particularly from consumers, but especially enterprise verticals, right? The idea about looking at mission critical services, meeting the needs of verticals with things like IoT, but that had particularly high bandwidth or latency requirements. That's only going to increase as we look to 6G, right? We're talking about new demands, new requirements that 6G will be there to support. We're talking about a new set of user requirements that will be getting more and more demanding. We've got to be ready for that. AI is part of how we manage that. So, I think in terms of what does it all mean and what should we think about, fairly quick summary here, right? We know that network services and operations currently demand AI. Nothing's getting less complex. Human capacity to manage that is going to be limited, right? Operators are moving on this. We've seen this, perhaps not as fast as they want, but they are moving it. But it is key to recognize the industry can't afford to slow down, right? User experience, revenue generation, the number one strategic priorities for operators to enable this, to enable good user experiences, to support the new diversity of services. We've got to think about how do we leverage technologies like AI, not just Gen AI, but AI more broadly for network services and optimization. It's a strategic focus. If it is for you and you're an operator, I'd like to mention there is a GSMA AI task force. It's an AI transformation task force. I've been supporting that along with some other folks here. Please get in touch if you're interested in finding out how to take part. And with that, let me turn it back to John and say thank you all very much.
Great, fantastic. Thank you very much for setting the scene with a great presentation, Peter. Now to get a leading MNO, this is now moving on to an MNO presentation, and to get a leading MNO's perspective and experience related to this topic, I invite Mr. Min-Soo Na to the screen. Now, Min-Soo Na is the Director and Head of 6G Development Team at SK Telecom. Min-Soo, over to you.
Sorry.
Okay, all good?
Okay, sorry. So can you hear my voice and can you see my screen there? Okay, great.
Yep, all good. Okay, over to you.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. Yes, I'm Min-Soo, who's responsible for 6G R&D at SK Telecom. Yeah, thanks to the Chinese arrangement. Today I would like to share the SK Telecom path to AI telco infra evolution. So yeah, the content is composed of the major two parts. So the first one is the glimpse of the future telco infra evolution in terms of the overall 6G era, as well as the AI telco infrastructure evolution. After that, let me briefly touch about how to make the telco infrastructure in the AI functionality in terms of the not just for the performance aspect, but also considering the entire optimization. So let me just briefly brief about the introduction of the company. So SK Telecom, this year is 40 years old at this moment. We started the business from the mobile operator at 1984, and we have done several important footprint. For example, we have commercialized the world first manner, especially in 4G and 5G. On the other hand, we successfully acquired one of the very the top tier semiconductor company Hynix at 2012, and now the company wanted to transform not only just for the telco operator but the global AI company. And let me briefly update the expectation of 6G era. So in the very beginning of this year, AI becomes megatrend. So as shown in the recent conference such as the C-Show and MWC. From that perspective, AI is not the optional, but a mandatory how to utilize the AI into our real network and use case as well. But we have to consider AI itself is not a final objective, but a vehicle, how to optimize, how to monetize operators' opportunity for monetization. From that perspective, we as SK Telecom announced the way forward to this global AI company. We call it the AI pyramid strategy. So our strategy is composed of three parts, and on this bottom line, AI infrastructure. This is something related to the supply, which provide some AI use case for some computing power. So for example, so one of the big web company is the NVIDIA, so who provide the AI service and use case company. So huge number of the AI computing power. On the top of the first floor, we can transform our existing telco business, such as SK Telecom business, SK Broadband business, and even enterprise business. And on the other hand, so we can move our existing external AI transformation on the top of our AI telco infrastructure. And the third floor, so we call it the global personal AI assistant. This is the thing of the final this AI service. So from those AI pyramid strategy, so we want to make some new business opportunity by utilizing AI. And I would like to stress about evolution to AI telco infrastructure, because as I mentioned in the previous slide, to realize AI transformation in the second floor and to realize AI service on third floor, no doubt that we require a plant of AI computing power. But so we have to consider some balance between AI computing supply chain as well as some AI use case demand. So from the initiation of point on the left side, so we started our AI transformation by utilizing existing our infrastructure. For example, so we already deployed our 5G infrastructure in nationwide manner. So from the base station and core network side, they do not design some AI computing power at this moment, but still they have some remaining computing power. So we can utilize that computing power to optimize our network optimization. So we call that AI assisted AI infrastructure. But on the right part, so if we can find some further chance to monetization by utilizing our AI computing power in our telco infrastructure, then we can add on some additional hardware functionality such as XPU or some NPU, something like that. Then we can expand our computing power, and by utilizing that computing power, so we can make some further the AI use case, and we can make some further AI optimization in our network. And let me elaborate the AI telco infrastructure in more in detail. So as I mentioned, so on the left part, so current our network is still good because historically, so we optimize a lot, based on the good rule-based automation, which is very traditional. It have the long history. So, but we can have the additional chance by utilizing AI. So, first part, number two. So as I mentioned, AI assist infrastructure. AI can be realized by two parts. One is training. The other is the inferring. So training requires a huge number of computing power, but do not require that training function into the native existing telco infrastructure, such as base station or core network path, which means we can train our certain AI model outside our separate hardware structure. After that, by making some AI model, we can apply that AI model into our existing telco infrastructure, such as OAM, such as base station, such as core network as well. Yeah, we call it the AI assist infrastructure. Yeah, this is the baseline, but we wanted to go further. Yeah, that is called the AI enabling infrastructure. Yeah, which is, yeah, that means, if we have further chance to utilize AI, not only just for optimization of existing network, but the getting more chance to provide some the AI service, is especially more focused on this inferring service. Then we can add some more hardware functionality. We call it the XPU. We do not limit that new hardware functionality into the GPU. We can add on some the CPU or NPU and any other hardware who has some additional AI computing functionality. Yeah, which means the parallel computing power. So by doing two AI assist infrastructure and AI enabling infrastructure, we can make our existing network more efficiently. And if I adapt some AI enabling a infrastructure, then we can make further the AI use case. And finally, if the case comes in, so 6G is coming, and finally we can make our greenfield network we call the AI native infrastructure. And let me briefly introduce about the AI enabling infrastructure. So to speak, we call it the edge AI infrastructure because we define our edge AI infrastructure, which is located between the device and the outside of our network. So yeah, the edge AI infrastructure can be located in this C-RAN hotel site or in core network. Yeah. So by applying some new AI computing hardware functionality, so we can make some additional monetization by adapting some AI use case. Even so we can, if we make some larger amount of computing power, we can make some connectivity as well as some new AI use case. That's the glimpse of this AI enabling infrastructure, or we call it the edge AI infrastructure. And next one is the glimpse of this use case by AI assist infrastructure. The difference between the AI enabling and AI assist is the AI assist infrastructure is aiming to utilize existing infrastructure's computing power. Training is executed outside, then inferring can be utilized in existing our infrastructure such as base station or the core network. Let me briefly introduce the key use case. So one is related to security, and the other is the power saving, which is very related to this RE100 policy. So by utilizing training, we can make some further prediction by customer behavior, network usage pattern. Yeah, this is training area. By that training, we can optimize to protect some phishing SMS or smishing SMS as well. And on the other hand, so by learning our traffic pattern, we can intelligently optimize our the baseband sales power in on or off manner. without any customer satisfaction factor. That's the major two use case by utilizing AI assist infrastructure. Okay, then if we have the more computing power, yeah, we can go further. Yeah, there is the candidate use case by utilizing more AI computing power, self-driving, logistics, some the enterprise use case, security and AI device and healthcare. I do not want to go into in detail the use case, but the key value by AI enabling infrastructure is security and the latency reduction, because the AI computing power is just in front of the device, which provide our customer some more the good latency, as well as some more secure service as well. Okay, that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you, Min-Soo, for a very interesting presentation. It definitely shows how forward-looking SK Telecom is in relation to applying AI functionalities in its existing and future networks. So next, I invite Christopher Price to present, and Chris is the Director of Advanced Technologies at Ericsson, and he'll share Ericsson's perspective on AI in network management and optimization. Chris, I think your comments on following Min-Soo's presentation will be helpful for the attendees here. Now the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, John. Just to confirm, you can see my presentation at this point.
All good. Yep.
Very good. So thank you for the introduction. As mentioned, I'm Christopher Price. I work with Ericsson and Director of Advanced Technology in the APAC region as part of the Ericsson CTO office. I'd like to talk a little bit about AI in operations and cognitive networks from a vendor's perspective, of course, and how this helps serve the industry and how we help to solve problems and essentially build an AI native network for future technologies and future 6G networks. I think Peter covered a good amount of what I wanted to talk about on this slide, and that is what is driving the adoption of AI and why are we so excited about it? And at the end of the day, it comes down to the complex demands that we have. The facts of life in a telecommunication industry is data growth continues. We still see 33% year-over-year increase in data growth, so that problem isn't going away, it's just getting worse. We see new use cases, we see different types of devices, we see emerging and evolving standards. And we want to continue to focus on that quality of experience, that customer experience, while trying to bring new revenues into the telecommunications ecosystem. What we see, I think, interestingly, as we move into 5G and we start to see private networks take more of a role, we start to see industry adoption, we see very different traffic patterns emerging in the network. And we expect to see that continue as we move into a 5G standalone world, we expect to see those traffic patterns change and start to shift in the macro network as well. There we need to be able to adapt quickly. We need to be able to adapt in a very complex set of data. And we need to be able to understand and iterate through that information to be able to manage our networks in the most effective and efficient way to continue to maintain that customer experience. We also want customers to request new services. We want enterprises to come and take more from the network. We want users to experience more from the network, as that'll drive the industry forward. And managing all of those complex interactions can't be done with a person behind a keyboard. So we need more autonomy and we need AI to help solve that problem. Key enablers then for us, AI, automation, and cloud are the three key enablers. But we don't have AI in the network. We don't have great automation unless we have really good DevOps systems in place and ML ops for the machine learning in place. A policy function is easy to deploy and run in the network because you put the policy in place and you know what it's going to do. An AI function, which is analyzing and addressing changes in the network, needs oversight. It's not a button anymore. It's now an ever-changing function. So how do we then address this as an industry? as Ericsson, just very briefly then, we've been on the AI journey for a little over 10 years. Many of our products ship with machine learning and AI capabilities today. We have standalone AI businesses and more than 30,000 engineers are all AI upskilled. This was a strategic decision we've taken. It requires organizational transformation. And then you begin research, innovation in new products, innovation in services, and that comes out through your product portfolio. This is a journey everyone needs to take, whether you're a vendor, an operator, or whomever. If you start to adopt AI, there's a lot of learning to be done. There is, of course, always transformation organizationally before things can really emerge and provide value in the network. So given the huge complexity and given the nature of AI, how do we manage, maintain, and deploy these capabilities through the network? We're very big believers in the cognitive network, and we're very big believers in the intent-based management of networks. So that we can create domains of autonomy, which leverage AI. So take RAN, for instance. I will have AI functions in my radio antenna. I will have AI functions in the DU, the CU. I will have AI functions throughout the products and services within each of those domain scopes that will help me automate and manage the network, reducing power consumption, increasing traffic throughput, and essentially focus on quality of experience for consumers. There I can draw a box around that, and I can create an intent layer on top of that is then able to be interacted with from a service operations layer. So the service operations layer then, again, has AI built into it. It's more of a central AI. It's looking at end-to-end capability, and it's looking at supporting that business and operations layer. And so on and so forth. The service intents go up to business layer. We see AI throughout the portfolio and throughout the operations of a network today. We see topics like generative AI generally popping up at a higher layer function. Generative AI will be very prevalent at the business operations layer. But that's not to say that within a domain service loop that there isn't a generative AI function there. In fact, we have generative AI functions which are being deployed as of today, which help with troubleshooting, which help with traffic analysis, which help with network build out and deployment and traffic management. So generative AI serves a purpose certainly throughout, but generally sits on top of an existing capability. It can't necessarily solve problems in the network without having first visibility, predictability, and methods of interacting with and understanding the concepts the network provides. So creating those domains, creating those LLMs, and exposing that to a generative function is handled at different layers. Very quickly, on the telecoms AI, we approach AI in two fundamental methods. One is distributed AI, and this was the first type of AI we brought out in Ericsson portfolio. This is where we have a local function which is doing machine learning, which is able to solve a problem within a specific context, and that could be something like beamforming or traffic scheduling based on traffic behaviors and utilization. It can be to do with movement monitoring and things like that. We can also have handover decisions, and these are very short-term, millisecond, microsecond types of transactions, generally distributed to a point in the network where it makes sense, and usually embedded within a product or function that's serving that particular purpose. Then we have what we call more centralized AI. This is where generative AI, of course, fits in, where you have sort of an overview. Here we can do things like automated automation, orchestration, optimization, self-healing of functions, and more longer term, we can help with network planning and evolution. We have, for instance, had some experiences where we've been able to save significant percentages of time when doing network planning, using AI functions to help sort of lay out and determine the best way to approach certain network challenges that operators are facing. But suffice to say, AI is here to stay. It's made up of both distributed and centralized functions. Generative AI comes in and plays a role and helps uplift some of the interactions and problem solvings that we will have in the network. But AI is here to stay, and I think will be part of telecoms for now and the future. Thanks, John. I'll get back to you as quick as I can.
Great. Thanks for a great presentation, Chris. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay. It looks like my video's gone. Okay. So, yeah, thanks for a great presentation, Chris. The next presentation will be by Carlos Oliver Mosquera. Now, he's a partner and head of Global Tech Center at Kearney, and he'll share the industry consultant's perspective and analysis in relation to this topic. So, Carlos, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, John. Can you hear me well? And let me see if I can share my screen properly.
Yep. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Yeah.
Okay, just 1 second. I'm having some issues with sharing the screen, if I may. Okay, so you should be able to see it now. Excellent. So I hope everyone can see my screen and hear me well. My name is Carlos Oliver. I'm a partner from Kearney based in Singapore, and I lead our Global Technology Center of Excellence in Kearney. My background is network engineering. I've been a network engineer by education and the labs alum. And basically what I do is I lead the technology strategy team within Kearney. My team works in the buy side of the industry, telco operators. We work with the sell side of the industry with OEMs, most of main OEMs, and we also work with institutions. We work with regulators, standard bodies, and governments to develop the industry. And the topic today that we're covering is why is AI a strategic imperative for the region and all the industry players in the region, and bring a call to action to work together to stay at the forefront of AI adoption and development here in APAC. So if we move to the next, moving to next slide, the first message that we have is that APAC is really at the forefront of AI adoption, and we have a wealth of successful cases of implementation of AI. And looking how adoption has taken place, we can consider 2 dimensions, and you're going to forgive me here, I'm a consultant, so I'm going to use a little framework around, can't help it. And these 2 dimensions are, first, what are the operational areas where we're implementing AI? And we have engineering, design, network plan, network build. And then we have operations, we have fulfillment, assurance, as well as infrastructure and energy. And what we can see is that most cases that we see in the region, and this is also global, is that most cases belong to operations and particularly belong to assurance. So we have predictive quality, we have predictive maintenance, full management, automation, and the ambition, the drive to close the loop in assurance. This is where we see most of the cases. Second comes energy optimization, and we see from simplest approach, which is analytics to determine policies and business rules for energy optimization, meaning shutting down of carriers, shutting down of antenna elements, MIMO branches, etc., manually driven by the NOC in a certain schedule, all the way to closing the loop and doing this automatically, having the AI interacting maybe through run apps or X apps with the network, with the radio units, and doing that automatically. Then it comes engineering, plan and build, etc. And we seem to have a lower option on this operational area. And I'm going to make a clarification here. When we're talking about AI here, we have a strict definition of AI ML. We are excluding anything that's traditional optimization. So if you have a planning tool that's based on milk or is based on greedy algorithm or whatever traditional optimization algorithm, we're not including here. We're including only strictly AI ML. And we see that we have fewer use case studies, and the main reason for that is twofold. First, you need to get your data really in order. You need very clean data to be able to produce the insight. But also, it seems that traditional algorithms work pretty well on this space, and this has kind of dampened the hunger for implementing AI/ML in this particular area. So, in summary, hotspots, assurance, and in energy optimization. You can see the slide, the different cases. On the other hand, the other dimension we're considering is the geographies. And when we look at the region, China seems to be taking the lead. And this is, of course, due to China's dominance in AI, big expenditure they're making, and that makes a spillover to multiple industries. And of course, we telco and telco networks were not going to be an exception. And you can see the 3 Cs are all in the list. The rest of East Asia seems to be doing pretty well. And of course, we have the great example of SKT that was presented before, but we see also the main place in Korea, KT LUU, with flagship use cases, as well as the big names in Japan, NTT, Rakuten, KDDI, etc. And then we have, of course, following, we have Australia, New Zealand with NBN, Telstra also making, and Optus making inroads here. Spark New Zealand also very ambitious in there, as well as Singtel in Singapore, and some other cases. We have Axiata, we have Globe, for example, also doing their implementations, their adoption on AI. So this is a little bit a summary of where the region is. If we look at specific use cases, and I'll go quickly on that, we can see first, we see that many of the use cases that we presented in the previous slide and the ones that we have here, they are related to predictive AI. We have two, let's say, branches of AI. We have predictive AI, traditional, focusing more on analysis and insight, and we have generative AI, of course. And most of the adoption today, most of the use cases we've seen before, and the use cases that we see here is around predictive AI. And we have, for example, here, I'm zooming into 2 cases of assurance. China Unicom, for example, using predictive AI to for knowledge management. They use knowledge graph technology to extract insight on network, and they expose it on APIs in cases like alarm correlation, RCA, decision trees, etc. And this speeds up the synthesis of knowledge from 2 months to weeks or days, and can be directly used for your trouble to resolve process. China Mobile, for example, combining, that's interesting, is a combination of digital twin technology with AI/ML to get real visibility of customer experience in their Evolve SOC. They did this to support the Asia Games. Or, for example, we have KDDI using real-time AI/ML to do energy optimization, and this is the case that we mentioned before, the ability to make decisions in real time in terms of shutting down different features of the radio units to save energy when the demand is not so high or the customer experience is not so impacted. So that's in terms of predictive AI, but I guess the most exciting part, most interesting part, of course, is GenAI. This is the most innovative branch of AI and is the one that's progressing more quickly. And the investment on GenAI, of course, increasing exponentially, is going extremely high. And although before it's been mentioned here by colleagues from GSMA Intelligence that is more nascent, there are few use cases, a lot of this in POC, which we ratify, is also the technology is growing more quickly, and we expect it to be dominant in the mid-long term. What is happening in GenAI? Some innovative use cases. Of course, there is intent-based networks, and probably I don't need to bring more to what has been said by colleagues from Ericsson and GSMA. Just mention that also our view is that this is going to break the challenge that we have today with automation and closing the loop. Is this very difficult? Many operators struggling to define rules that automate the behavior of the network. This is operationally intensive. It requires a lot of development, and it's not only that, but maintaining those rules when the network changes is hard. And we expect that GenAI brings the promise of helping that, automating that, being context aware, being able to process natural language will make it significantly simpler. Other innovative cases, for example, that we see is traffic shaping, using Gen AI and to be able to do traffic shaping without the need of DPI and complex business rule orchestrators. And this could be used, for example, to address jumbo flows from bandwidth hoggers that is 5–10% of users that take most of bandwidth, to throttle their traffic, or maybe introduce some delay in the package on the packets, as well as the effect of the quick protocol crowding out TCP and basically having a small percentage of services and flow affecting the vast majority. That's another example we've seen. These are all POCs, they're still being implemented, but we find them really interesting. Then finally, what we want to do here, we want to finish this short presentation with a call to action for all the industry in the region, to keep the region at the forefront of AI development. We're doing very well, and it is important to keep the pace, to keep the momentum. And to do that, we need collaboration across all the participants in the industry. We need academia, because what we're finding, we're hearing from many of our clients, it is very difficult to find talent that is at the intersection of network engineering, data science, and AI. This is not any problem. We had the same problem when we're starting with OSS 20 years ago and finding people with network engineering software skills, but it's the same. And even, let's say it's the same problem with steroids. It's even more difficult. It's a very competitive market out there for AI talent. So the ability of academia to provide talent and thought leadership on AI is very fundamental. Government, some of the cases, particularly Gen AI, are nascent. We don't have very capital intensive environment now where long-term investments are hard. So providing the incentives for the industry to bet on these use cases in the region is important. ICT vendors, and also before I forget, startup incubation. Startups have a very fundamental role in AI, particularly taking those cases that riskier and maybe the big companies don't want to address, and startups may want to take the risk. That is very important. So governments and institutions, they should incubate all these startups to foster AI. ICT vendors, of course, very important role, both in the IT as well as telco OEMs, to be able to provide solutioning capability locally and again, drive thought leaderships. And then let's not forget about telco operators. It is important for them to set up consortia, to work together, to cross-pollinate the knowledge, to cross-pollinate capability and ability to share talent pool, ability to share learnings, and even ensure standardization of best practices across the region. And why this is important, why this call to action, because ultimately AI adoption is one of the strongest levers that we have for the vision that perhaps Carney and we expressed many times in different fora, that the internet of the future should be more reliable, it should be more efficient, should be more sustainable. And we should be an internet of the future for all, accessible, affordable. And by introducing AI and reducing the cost of complexity, it's been raised before, by reducing operational cost, we can actually achieve and drive to this vision. So this is a short intro of what we see and in the region, and what we recommend. John, I will hand back to you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your attention.
Thank you, Carlos, for a very insightful, interesting presentation. Now, I think you've emphasized collaboration and opening up AI democratically, okay, to really push forward with further development going forward. So I think that we could probably discuss that in the next panel discussion that we have. So now to give the speakers the opportunity to expand on their presentations, We'll hold now 30 minutes, okay, maybe just under a panel discussion to, discuss about wide-ranging perspectives from different players in the industry, including the semiconductor sector, which will be represented by Thomas Sennheisen, who's a CTO and business lead for APAC and Japan at Intel Corporation. So if all the speakers and Thomas, if you can turn on your videos, please, that'd be great. Okay. And I've got just a few questions that I'd like to ask in front of the audience. And the first question would be, can you describe some of the primary ways in which AI is currently being used to manage and optimize network operations? Now, having said that, I'd like to actually direct this first question to Thomas. Okay, and also it'd be good if Thomas can also take into keep in your mind the last comment by Carlos about accessibility of AI and possibly the democratization of AI and everyone collaborating together, because I understand that Intel is taking a very different approach to commercializing and promoting AI in its chipsets and in the ecosystem. So Thomas, over to you for this first question.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, this is not scripted, by the way, but Carlos gave me really a good introduction about the open and democratization, because I think that's definitely a critical path, especially when we talk about all the opportunity we have in the future. AI is will be a critical component and will help us, everybody in different aspects. I mean, the telecommunication, as said, on the operational side, I think, Christopher said around, how can you have this automation, fraud management, all these areas getting much, much easier to do that. So I think this is definitely, a critical part. And from an Intel point of view, we want to make sure that democratization is happening. And what we are doing, we have a little bit of different approach than maybe some other players in the market, especially the big one. We want to make sure that really open source is a critical part. We want to, upload our models. We're working, with Open Foundation, with Linux Foundation. We just created that. We have a one API software stack, which is everything is open source. Because we believe really it's important that the software stack, the hardware player is one piece, which I come after, but the software is really critical because all the data modeler, and also Carlos said, the academics, the young people who learn, they need to learn that on an open platform. So that's a critical part. The other piece, what I want to say is, from our point of view, is AI is everywhere. So it's not only in the data center. And I think Minso said that from SKT a little bit about, where it's distributed. So I think it's important that we understand there are different demands and different requirements depending where the AI is, deployed, or also where it's trained, because it's a different story if you have that in the data center, at the edge, or even on the client side. And what we also see is, the models changing dramatically. I mean, AI is nothing new. I think, more than the principles more than 40 years old, but because of ChatGPT, it's getting really an explosion on that side. And that model, only a few customers are able to run and train these big models. That's really very, very limited. It's also from a cost and power consumption point of view, the piece. So I think, we need to be realistic. What can we do? So have a lot of smaller models, which will help us to drive this piece. And the last thing, for the discussion is also, not AI is not equal GPU by default. I think that's a big part. The GPU part was very obvious when, the big models came because of the matrix calculation. But you have a lot of silicon today. We have accelerator in our silicon today already deployed, where it's just waiting, to leverage that. AFMX, different accelerator model. We have also Gaudi 2, which is an accelerator model on that side, which will help again to optimize and also run training. I mean, you can run today in some of the newer silicon, even a Gaudi a ChatGPT 3 model without any problem. So the accelerator, CPU power getting bigger and bigger, the models getting smaller and smaller. And the other part is really the takeaway is really, how can we make sure that everybody get access to this technology?
Great, thanks for the comments, Thomas. Yeah, that was very much aligned to what Carlos has mentioned. But let me ask the same question to Peter. Peter, you obviously set the scene with your presentation. Now, in terms of the primary ways in which AI is currently being used to manage and optimize network operations, I mean, through GSMA research, have you come across many case studies like that that you can actually mention here, please?
Yeah, no, and Carlos did a great job of calling out the case study. So I don't want to go over a lot of the basics, right? But I think we've sort of seen it, and you would see it with some of the research that we've done, right? From the basics in terms of the network planning, network rollout, right? That at a very basic level. But what I think we're seeing more interest in more recently, I think we're all sort of saying the same things, right? It is, how do we put Gen AI to use here for these use cases? So I think that's where we're seeing a lot of interest. And exactly right? Not a lot of commercialization, a lot of trials. Again, I think the whole industry is there, a lot of interest there. What I think is interesting, and it's worth calling this out, because there is a bit of a tension, right? As much as we've seen that the initial use cases and focus is on networks, where this kind of is a quick win, because operators kind of understand that, they control that, right? It's something that they understand. We are seeing a lot of tension, though, within the operators, where there's a bigger focus going forward on, how do I use this to maybe generate more revenues, right? Service facing, customer facing, and not just customer facing in terms of chatbots and things like that. But how do we move beyond networks? How do we move beyond sort of support operations to new service generation, new revenue generation? So actually moving beyond networks. I think networks is a good place to start, but I think there is a big focus from the industry of sort of going, well, that's the easy part, right? What we really want to do is we want to grow our top line, grow new revenues. I think the other part where we're seeing, this kind of links into a broader picture and a broader question around AI, is AI in terms of use for sustainability. No shortage of sleep solutions, dormancy solutions that are out there that are using AI to optimize networks, optimize radio performance in order to increase sustainability and energy efficiency. We do a lot of work with operators understanding their network power usage, benchmarking operators across the world in terms of how they're doing on that. It's a huge focus for them, right? Getting those numbers down. They've all got sort of net zero goals that they're trying to get to. So that's probably one of the bigger areas where we're seeing more interest in. Yeah, I think it's not too surprising, but it also does play off that tension of, AI is something that needs to be sustainable, and AI is something that can support sustainability. I think it is that dual sort of that dual nature, kind of similar to what we heard from early on in terms of sort of AI for networks and networks for AI. We've got to recognize that sort of there's a dual nature to all of this.
Great. Thanks for that, Peter. And Carlos, I think obviously, as Peter mentioned, there's very little commercialization. There's a lot of trials and so forth. Okay, Carlos, I mean, would you like to add to this particular question based on the consulting job that you've done in the APAC, please?
Yeah, I think most of it has already been covered. Thank you, Peter, and thank you all the participants. And we covered this also when I presented. So let me do just a very quick wrap up for the sake of time. So first, we utilize, we're starting predictive AI. Then we expect industry to move to Gen AI, and at some point, because growing exponentially, we'll overtake predictive AI. In terms of the areas of application, we're seeing mostly on assurance and energy optimization. And maybe let me bring another spin to this, which is if you look at how AI has been playing in our industry. Beginning, it was besides the point from Peter playing on networks, or it also played on commercial, basically using analytics, and on top of those analytics, AML to extract customer insight, next best action, etc. Then it moves to AI ops. This is where we are today. So as AI supporting network management, supporting cost optimization, which is the very topic of this seminar. But then it moves down. It will move down, and we'll move to the network itself. We'll move into autonomous networks, and we'll get AI on the management plane, basically closing the loop. And yeah, we have intent-based networks. We'll have automation through AI, and we'll achieve this, let's say, this autonomous automation that will close the loop on both fulfillment and assurance. But there's even more ambition. At some point, it will not stop there. At some point, we'll get so embedded in the network that we'll get AI in the control plane. And looking, of course, at vendors here, which have the thought leadership on this. But yeah, if you look at routing, for example, we have this static routing algorithms like Dijkstra, and all routing today is based on this. But what about in the very long term, in the future, we bring AI and have, let's say, routers, particularly leveraging SDN and centralized orchestration, can have a more contextual view of what's happening in the network and can make decisions based on AI instead of optimized algorithms. And of course, Christopher mentioned all the great work that's being done for RAN, for example, with X apps, are apps that embed AI and help with zone and all the layers of autonomy on the network. This is, of course, very, or part of it is very visionary, but the message is, yeah, we're starting with cost optimization. We're starting with network management, all the AIOps layer, but we'll not stop there. AI will get more and more in the network and will be in every aspect of the network at the end. Back to you, John.
I think you're muted,
John.
John.
I think you're on mute.
Apologies, sorry. Okay, so thanks for a great answer. Now, just before we move on to the second question, just a quick answer, please. How do you see the timeline? Based on what you mentioned, 5 to 10 years. I think a lot of the audience will be quite interested here. Can you hear me, Carlos?
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't sure of the question. I mean, AIOps.
Just a timeline.
Yeah. AIOps here now, the simplest cases, which are pivoting on anomaly detection. So it's detection, predictive maintenance here now, and closing the loop may take somewhat in full. I mean, we have, of course, cases today of achieving, but full closing the loop at scale may take a few more years. Let's take it's always a bet when you predict the future, but I think 3-4 years.
5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
5 to 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, and AI in every aspect of the network. What I mentioned, that when it gets into the control plane that really runs the network inside out, that probably will take. We're talking about a decade on that. That's very visionary.
Of course. Okay. Great. Thanks for that. All right, good. Look, I'll move on to the next question, and this is I'd like to actually ask this specific question to SKT as a leading MNO and to Ericsson as a leading vendor. Okay, I'm sure that but working on AI, you guys would have actually experienced really significant technical challenges. Okay, when trying to integrate AI into existing network infrastructure. Okay, so I'd like to direct this question first to Min-Soo. Okay, from an MNO perspective. If you could just give us an answer based on your experience, please, because SKT is very much seen as a leading operator in this area. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny, for the great question. That's one thing I wanted to mention is AI is not for free. It costs a lot sometimes. So many people, expect about AI wave only for the benefit by applying the AI use case, but no one says about external cost. So from operator perspective, so we have to focus on the cost as well as the benefit together. That's the very important point from the operator perspective. From that perspective, as I presented before, So we divide our AI telco evolution by two parts. One is AI assist infrastructure, which requires some reasonable number of computing power in existing infrastructure. It probably computes some the right part of the importing function in existing network. And on the other hand, we can handle some training computing power the outside some this server side is acceptable from our side. But when we move to the heavy computing power use case, such as not just for the vision AI, but for example LLM power. LLM is evolving to ChatGPT 3.3 to 3.5 and 3.4 and 4 only. Just last week. Which means so many tremendous parameters required. Which requires a large code. So from the technical perspective, I would like to stress that when we apply any beneficial use case, we have to consider our investment cost simultaneously. So the balance between cost and benefit is very important. If someone from the supplier or the supplier side can meet some customers' demand, so it's something very similar to the ROI, return to the investment. So if we invest just the 5, and if we get some benefit, so in or 10 or more than 5 or further, then we can be affordable. That's the point I want to mention. So in summary, the most technical challenge from operator side by applying AI is the money. That's my answer.
Great answer, Minsu. I'd love to actually, I'll skip over to you, Chris, from a vendor perspective. How do you want to add on top of that and expand on that, Chris?
I mean, the money is the big challenge. Actually, I'll come back to one of the comments I made around organizational upskilling and competence. From a vendor perspective, to the path for an engineer to believe they want AI in the product that they're responsible for is not a smooth and seamless one, right? So there is a lot of learning that goes into adopting the technology and feeling comfortable that we can do it in a trustworthy, in a sustainable and maintainable way. It comes back to that cost. You can't just put something in that needs updating and oversight and management things. So managing the cost and managing the scope of activities within a distributed AI framework. So where there are tens of thousands of radio antennas and there's AI running in all of them, just make sure that works in a trustworthy manner is extremely difficult. I think some of the other challenges we face, it comes down to what we talked about with sharing and openness. Centralized AI really depends a lot on its environment. So when we create models and we create training algorithms, language models included, I mean, they're very dependent on context. And so from a vendor's perspective, as a global vendor, the context changes in country and in operator. And so there needs to be learning. So we work very closely with operators to understand their context, to understand the network side of things, and to find that common ground where we can have the ML ops, which was mentioned a moment ago, have an ML ops solution which actually accommodates those needs. So deploying this in a way that's manageable, that's in context, is also something that's quite challenging. I think if I look forward at one of the bigger challenges we're going to face, it's federated learning and how we're able to horizontalize the AI in the network, and to sort of lower those functions, as was mentioned a little while ago, bringing AI into out of the management plane and into the control plane, by using federated learning and federated unlearning techniques is one of the big challenges I think we face moving forwards.
Great, Chris. I actually after those comments, I would really like. I wasn't going to ask this question, but I would like some comments from Thomas. Thomas, would you like to just comment? Because I think it's very much related to, for example, what Intel is trying to offer in terms of pushing for, openness, reducing cost and so forth. Maybe you'd like to comment on top of that, please.
I think I like the comment, especially on the cost side. I think we need to be realistic. One is the dollars, of course, we're spending. The other piece is also the footprint. I mean, everybody has a CO2, sustainability target by 2030, 2040, depending on that. And I think we need to be really careful on what do we want to achieve and to which cost. And I think that's where, again, one of the things is, of course, with GPU alone, you're not able to do that. I mean, there's not enough energy on the planet to run anything on a GPU. And again, I think we need to, it's like cars, you have different cars you buy for, I drive my Ferrari because on a Sunday, because, very funny, very nice, cool. But during the week, I have maybe my family car I drive, and it's really very, specific for that. And I think that's where we need to be a little bit more sensitive. And today, I think the other part is, I think we all agree where the low-hanging fruits are on it. But sometimes I feel a little bit, people just buy stuff and then they find out later. And also, I think that's also where we see that's not a lot of deployed yet. I think it's with all this little bit of hype on that side is really, what is the business problem? What is the business outcome I want to drive, and how can I do that? And again, I think the networking on the radio side, the OSS, BSS, that's the low-hanging fruit end of the day. And of course, everybody want to make monetization out of it. But I think the first thing is, and I think Christopher said that, it's a transformation also for the organization. You cannot just bring AI in and everybody is running that. It's a long, and especially in the telco world, we are a little bit slower than maybe other industries. It takes a little bit longer. And I think we need to respect that and start early. And before we try to run for the Olympic Games, in the summertime, let's make small step, but successful.
And great, thanks for that answer. And then Chris, I think your comment about the federation efforts, I think that's also going to be very, very important to ensure that happens. Great. All right, look, okay, we're fighting for time. We've got 8 minutes to go, so I'll ask our next question. Next question I'd like to once again ask to an operator. Can you just quickly, can you share any specific case studies or examples where AI-driven optimization really significantly improved network performance and stability? Min Soo, just a quick answer to that question, please. Yeah, based on your experience. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Johnny. Yeah, so in the presentation also, by utilizing our AI assist infrastructure, which means we utilize the existing infrastructure computing power by employing and this training in the outside our network. And one of the key use case to improve the network performance is the AI. So by utilizing the dynamic the cell on off in the base station, so we can save the energy by without any performance degradation from user perspective. So in the past, we just we have several carrier in LTE network, which means in the night we can turn off some the cell during the night, but so even the daytime, if we exactly analyze and training the traffic pattern, we can intelligently control the cell status in intelligent manner, which result in our network energy saving. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
That's great. Chris, from Ericsson's perspective, can you share any case studies?
So I'll be really brief, John, because we're quite short on time. But I mean, we do a lot with a lot of operators, and so on the CapEx side, for instance, we have capacity planning and deployment solutions where we see 10% CapEx saving if you bring AI in and analyze in more depth. Maybe as a vendor, that's not the right thing to advertise, but it's it's great to have a better performing network, and that's good for everyone.
Yeah.
capacity planning, we can go through processes faster, we can analyze data faster, and really get the networks structured in the right way in a much faster manner. From a productivity perspective, the performance diagnostics tools that we have, which will do multi-layer analysis of the performance of the network, where we see hotspots or cold spots, where we can increase productivity by using AI, for instance, on how software modules are deployed and where they need to be deployed based on traffic patterns over time. There's so many ways, John, that we're able to leverage AI, especially in the CapEx and OpEx fronts. And I think you'll just see more and more of it as we get better at it. We will adopt it more and see iterative improvement.
Great, thanks, Chris. Yeah, that leads me to the final question that I want to actually ask. And again, I mean, you guys have actually covered in some of your slides, but I'd like to be a little more specific here. So what are some of the latest innovations that in AI that could further transform network management? And I'd like to actually first ask this to Kearney, Carlos, based on your experience so far in consulting our clients in the APAC, please.
Yeah, I'll go very quickly because I covered this more or less already. So we seeing, of course, AI in radio access network, X1, run apps, X apps, and being able to introduce Gen AI or traditional AI for self-organized networks. We mentioned the intent-based network, basically breaking the curse of having to create automation rules and the complexity that it entails in a network's dynamic and always changing. We mentioned traffic shaping, of course, and in terms of more mature, as we said before, we have the cases of predictive maintenance and fault management, as well as anomaly detection to minimize detection.
Great. Thank you, Carlos. Peter, based on your research, can you mention any? Latest innovations in AI. Yeah.
And I think just sort of piggybacking a bit off what Carlos was saying, I think we're seeing the move from assurance, right? Planning. I think that's where it began to, getting deeper into the core. And again, no one wants to talk about 6G, right? But this idea of an AI-enabled RAN, right? And Carlos talking about XX and our apps, open, right? Open networking. Again, I showed top of the list for operators. They're looking at things like the RAN intelligent controller. That's not just for Open RAN, right? You can deploy that without Open RAN. How do they deploy that? But again, and I mentioned this, what I think is the next step that we're seeing from operators is, how do you look at this for the implementation of new services, right? Going beyond the network side of things. Networks are great, right? But they want to understand, how do they use it, and how do they combine the network side of things with the service side of things, which also includes, and I don't think we talk about that much here, the use of things like Gen AI for code development, for software development within an operator, right? Because we're seeing that. And again, it's not very sexy, right? But how do we use those tools to actually improve the velocity and development of software within an operator? I think that then feeds into all of that in terms of how you use it on the service side.
Right. Thanks, Peter. Well, I mean, gentlemen, thank you very much. I think we're pretty much done for time. I really appreciate your presentation and your panel discussion. We've had many people in the audience asking many questions. Just to the audience, I'd like to mention that should you have any questions, we won't be answering them immediately, but please do put them on the Q&A board, and along with your email addresses, and we'll come back to you, even for those ones that are directed to our speakers as well. Just before you go, I'd like to just mention that the next Digital Transformation Acceleration Forum webinar, the second one will be on the 4th of July, which is a Thursday in July, and that will be around the integration of AI into next-gen networks, going from existing 5G Advanced right through to 6G. So I think you'll find this it'll be a good step from this to the next virtual session. So I will be sharing the agenda in the next few very soon in due course. Okay, but once again, thank you very much for your contribution, and I look forward to inviting you guys again and the audience as well to our next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.